Hey everyone, Fezzik here, bringing you the Vial of the Sands video. This video is being done with the assumption that you are going to farm out everything rather than purchasing it. Obviously you can do what you'd like to do for the most effective way to gather the materials, but that's the assumption for this video. We're just going to jump right into it. I recommend 2 max level characters. One character has alchemy and archaeology. That combination has to be the case in order to make this work, because the person with alchemy needs to be the one who has archaeology in order to find the pattern. The other character, I recommend a druid, has the herbalism and mining in order to go through and to get all the materials, as well as being able to farm the volatiles. And as far as fishing is concerned, either character can have it. That really is just a preference. That being said, cataclysm, mining, herbalism, and alchemy are required, as well as at least level 200 alchemy to be able to get the philosopher's stone, which is used in transmutations. And so you're going to have to transmute the pyrite bars into true gold. And if you're actually running low on pyrite bars, you can actually use the once a day cooldown to transmute elementium and volatile earth into pyrite bars as well. I do recommend getting up to level 300 in vanilla alchemy, because at level 300 you can obtain the master transmutation, and you are able to get additional procs. And so instead of getting 1 or 2 true gold, occasionally you can get things like 4 or 5, which really speeds up the process. And those alchemy trainers can be found respectively in Orgrimmar and Stormwind City. In this video I'll be talking about some best practices in order to kind of maximize your farms and to get to the point where you actually can begin to create this mount. This mount has been coined the million gold a month mount, and that's actually not an exaggeration. I see people all the time, and I personally have made anywhere between 500,000 to a million gold every month as I've been consistently farming and selling these on the auction house. Obviously it's going to be different on each server, but become familiar with your server and be consistent, right? That's going to be the biggest thing in really taking advantage of this mount. Do not undercut, right? Undercutting does not make things sell faster. It just lowers the price. That way, if you don't undercut, you'll be able to keep the market price where it normally is, and everyone's going to be able to make more money. And these items do sell, right? It may seem weird at first, but it does sell. So here's the guide. Enjoy, and may the RNG gods be with you. Alrighty, so for archaeology, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail of like what's the best option overall, because it really is more of a preference, and the guide that I'll link in the description below will kind of talk about that. But if you're just looking for a fast way to do it, what worked for me to level up very quickly was just to focus on Eastern Kingdoms. I had a mage, and so I was able to teleport to the north and southern ends very quickly, and since archaeology basically takes over the entire continent, and so you're running back and forth a lot. I was a horde player, which made this slightly more inefficient, and so if you're Alliance, it's actually going to be even better to do in Eastern Kingdoms. That being said, what we're focusing on here is leveling up to level 525. And this will allow us to then move into Pandaria, where we can level up from 525 to 600. So to level the most efficiently in archaeology, the best practice is every time you find a fragment on the ground and collect it, that's 1 level in archaeology. When you complete a common artifact find, that's 5 levels, and when you complete a rare find, that is actually 15 levels. Usually you're going to be wanting to be capping off at about 200 fragments and then completing items as you go. This is going to allow you to control much more when you're getting up to that level cap, so you know when to go back to your major city to level up again in archaeology training, so that you don't accidentally lose levels as you're going. And this is just a best practice to make sure that you're going as fast as you can without having to go back when you don't need to and risk losing out on extra levels. And we'll be using the method in Pandaria to farm the Tolvir fragments rather than in Oldham, just because Oldham shares a spawn point for their archaeology finds in all of Kalimdor. And so it really is extremely inefficient just to try to farm that repeatedly. And so in Pandaria, we're able to farm the Mantid Digsites instead, because of the ability to exchange the restored artifacts that you can create from any common artifact find and exchange those in for the Tolvir archaeology fragments. That way you can begin to complete the Tolvir archaeology finds. And the reason this matters is because what we're looking for is the canopic jar solve. And the canopic jar, I believe, is a 1 in 8 chance to be a solvable artifact. And inside the canopic jar, you have a 1 in 10 chances of having the pattern for the Vial of the Sands to drop. So as mentioned before, make sure that the character who has Archaeology is the same character who has Alchemy, because the Vial of the Sands pattern is bind on pickup, and you will have to use that character to create the mount from moving forward. Now with Archaeology out of the way, we're heading to the Valley of the Four Winds. As we head to the Valley of the Four Winds, what we need to do before anything else is get exalted with the lore walkers. I'm not going to talk about details. There are hundreds of fantastic guides that break it down for you. You can get it done in a couple hours. Go do that, and then come back to this video, and we will start with talking to Bran Bronzebeard. And Bran is going to be your best friend in this part of the grind, because what he offers is the Mantid Artifact Hunter's Kit, which inside gives you the Mantid Artifact Sonic Locator and the Lore Walker's map. The locator, what it does is every future dig site will then appear as a Mantid Digsite, and then the Lore Walker's map is a great combination with that, because once you have the locator in your bags, the map allows you to reset all of Pandaria's Archaeology dig sites, and so they'll all move to Mantid dig sites, and this is where the grind really begins. So you are now headed to Townlong Steps or to the Dread Wastes, wherever the dig sites appear, and here you're just going to farm dig sites forever. Really, until you have enough of the Mantid fragments to complete the archaeological finds, turn those into the restored artifacts, turn those restored artifacts back into Bran to get the Tolvir fragments. Once you have the Tolvir fragments, use those until you have enough to complete those relics, and then hope against all RNG that you hit the Canopic Jar and that you're able to then find the Vial of the Sands recipe in there. To be honest, I've seen people get it on their first try. Do not expect this. Most people that I've heard have grinded out anywhere between 10 to 20 hours. I personally spent 37 hours grinding this out to get the recipe. And I know people who have done it since Cataclysm and have never, ever gotten the recipe. So it really is all RNG. The best way to approach this, honestly, was to just go at it for, like 2-hour spurts. It really is mind-numbing, and it's really hard to get through long-term. So just do, 1.5 to 2 hours a day, turn stuff in. If you get it, wonderful, that's fantastic, you're done. If not, at least it's only going to be another 1.5 to 2 hours the following day. Right? Don't dedicate too much time to it unless you're really feeling confident, because it really is mind-numbing and it's hard to get through. So now that you have the recipe, from here it's really just about consistency. The first area we're going to hit up is Deepholm, where you're going to fish for the albino cave fish and use alchemy to turn that to Deepstone Oil. And keep in mind as you're fishing to avoid that red mist, because it will give you a dot that will stop you from being able to fish for like 30 seconds. It's just kind of annoying. Next, we are in the Vortex Pinnacle, farming the Volatile Air. And what you're going to do here is come into the dungeon, make sure it's on normal, and then clear all the way up to the second boss. After killing the second boss, jump off the edge. It'll send you back to the beginning, get out, reset it, and rinse and repeat. It's that simple. You'll easily finish 10 runs to cause the lockout. And so it makes this farm really nice, because you can just come in whenever you don't have a lot of time, or you want to kind of combine farms for that day. And so you come here, do this, once you hit lockout, go do a different farm, and then you don't have to worry about it. Plus, the perk is that if you don't have the mount here, you'll get it eventually, because the second boss drops the mount. So enjoy! So next on the list is the Whiptail farm. While farming the Whiptail, you make sure that you're not in 8.3 content, make sure it's past Cataclysm content, and you can take advantage of a couple things. While farming Whiptail, you can actually get the Volatile Life, which is just a % drop chance on any herb that you farm, as well as potentially farming out the Pyrite or the Elementium, and getting the Cinderbloom as you're flying around. So this is a fantastic farm, and one that you'll become very familiar with as you farm out this mount. For the Volatile Fire, we're targeting the Unbound Ember Fiends in Twilight Highlands. We're just running around in this zone, running around in circles, killing these mobs, and they drop Volatile Fire, one of the best farms in the game. One additional note is that if you're moving fast enough, you actually will be able to kill all these mobs, and every second lap stop to loot, which will actually speed things up. You're spending less time looting, more time killing the mobs, which means overall more Volatile Fire for your farm. The next material is the Volatile Water, and this is also in Twilight Highlands. We're just running around killing the muddied water elementals, and it's a little bit trickier because they're so spread out, but just run around, kill them all, make sure that you come back to loot so that you don't lose anything after the 2-minute despawn that Blizzard has set up. Again, straightforward, kill the mobs, get the Volatile Water. So the final zone we're farming in is Tolbarad. It's actually the second best area to farm the Azshara's Vial. However, I don't like going to Vashir. It has the intra-quest lines and it's just kind of a pain to travel through. So I go to Tolbarad, and I actually really like this farm because it allows me not only to get Azshara's Vial, but also to farm Cinderbloom. And it's one of the only places that I'm aware of that has the rich Pyrite deposits, and so instead of getting, the 2 to 3 Pyrite drops for each vein, you can get up to like 8. So huge improvement, makes things move way faster. Just run around here. The path I take includes the Pyrite and the Cinderbloom, which is why I go up onto the land and not just in the water, because as a druid, if you just go in the water, you're actually going too fast, and so you will get back around before it respawns. And so by taking this path, I actually get back right as it respawns, and I don't mount up. I stay in travel form, which helps with that adjustment. So it's a great farm. Again, straightforward. Just run around, pick up the Azshara's Vial, see if there's any Pyrite, and pick up any Cinderbloom you come across. And that way you'll actually always have enough Cinderbloom from this and from the Whiptail farm so that you don't have to go into Mount Hyjal to farm it for an additional zone. Now that you've gathered everything and melted down the Pyrite to Pyrite bars and you've transmuted it into true gold, you're able to craft the mount. The last items you're going to need is actually the vendor items that can be purchased only from the vendor in the northwest region in Oldham. And just a little tip, you're going to want to go to her during 8.3 content. I don't know why Blizzard changed this, but for some reason they altered the prices. If you go during Cataclysm, it will cost you 29,000 gold to purchase all of the materials required from the vendor. If you go during 8.3 content, it only will cost you 23,200 gold. That saves you almost a nice 7,000 gold each time. So it's worth it. Make sure it's 8.3, buy those items, and then go ahead and craft that mount for yourself if you want to sell it. And that's it. That's what you do. And just get used to the farm, find a way to enjoy it, and congratulations on being able to craft the Vial of the Sands. So thank you all for watching. If this video was helpful, please go ahead and give me a like, subscribe, ring that bell to know when new videos come out. And if you like this or you're looking for things that I haven't done any videos on yet, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. If there's some things that you noticed I didn't mention in this that I could improve on that would help other people, please add it to the comments. My next video I'm working on is actually the BFA world mounts that I'm farming post-nerf, and so I'm going to need a little bit of help from that. If you go ahead and want to follow my Twitter, you'll know when I'm going live on Twitch. You can also follow me on Twitch, and that way you join in, maybe get the mount for yourself, or get the mounts to be able to sell in the auction house to make a little extra gold. I'd love for y'all to join me in that, and I'll be working on that for like the next 2 weeks or so. I look forward to seeing y'all there.